Thanks for listening to Coffee Talk. This is your host, Martgan. This week's Coffee Talk has mature content. All right, good morning and welcome to Coffee Talk, episode 2. Today we have my good friend, Allan Dignard. He is a firefighter paramedic in Canada. Welcome, Allan.
Hello.
Thanks so much for coming on and talking with us today. I have word that you are in your 21st year as a firefighter paramedic. Is that true?
Yeah, 21 years in emergency services.
Wow, that's pretty incredible. What got you into this? And you look like a pretty young guy. So I know we've never met in person, but you look kind of young. So when did you get into this and kind of what got you started?
Yeah, so I got into the industry when I was actually 18 years old. My dad was a firefighter when I was growing up, so I'm a second-generation firefighter. And originally when I was thinking about getting into emergency services, I was thinking about getting into policing. And my dad encouraged me to actually go down to the local EMS station and go and just kind of get some information. So I did that, and they hooked me up with a ride-along. And then I just fell in love right away. And, the rest is history. And about 5 years into my career into emergency services when I was 23, I got on to a integrated fire department where I was able to do fire and EMS. And I've been there ever since.
That's so funny. It feels like when I talk to all of my friends, like we all kind of fell into this thing. Or we knew people that kind of led the way for us and helped us get to where we're at. And that sounds like you have a pretty similar experience, and I love that. So your official title is also a health, a wellness, and life coach, and a personal trainer. So you have two different things that you've kind of combined together. How does that work with you also being a firefighter paramedic, that you do health and wellness as a life coach and you're a personal trainer? And how does that help you get out your message and help you do what you're trying to accomplish in the industry?
Yeah, so what I'm trying to accomplish in the industry as a health, wellness, and life coach and a personal trainer is to raise awareness around mental health in emergency services and to end the stigma around mental health and PTSD. And that comes from my own story, roughly about 5 years ago when I found myself suffering from depression and anxiety, emotional eating, and abusing alcohol. And that put on a lot of weight, and I didn't like myself, and I even contemplated taking my own life. So I was kind of at rock bottom, and, I wasn't sure if I was suffering from PTSD, and I hadn't seen a psychologist at that time. But, one day I kind of just had this awakening, and so it was like the universe just kind of slapped me across the face and was like, man, you got to wake up, because I was at home with my daughter at the time, and she wasn't in school full time. So, with my schedule, when my wife at the time was at work, I'd be the stay-at-home dad.
Yeah.
And, when you contemplate taking your own life when your kids are around, that's not a good place to be.
Yeah.
And so, when the universe woke me up and it was just like, man, you have to make a change. I was literally drinking alcohol that morning, and it was like probably roughly around 10 o'clock in the morning. I just dropped my boy off at the bus stop, came back home. My daughter's running around playing, and I was struck by the universe, and I put down that drink, and I was just like, wow. And I made the decision. I was like, you know what? You got to start taking care of yourself. And so I went down into my basement, and I started working out. And when I was done that workout, I felt something that I had never felt before, and it was a very good feeling. And that feeling after you work out, those endorphins, and you just feel awesome and amazing. And that's how I felt. Yeah. And I hadn't felt like that in years. And, I hadn't worked out for a long time either, because I sustained a back injury on the job, a couple of years before that. So I was suffering in a lot of chronic pain, and, that didn't help with the depression, and that just led me down a rabbit hole that took me to my rock bottom.
Right.
So I kind of feared working out because it would cause me more pain. And so I just let it go, and your back atrophies and you just get weaker. And, so I was working myself into a deep, deep hole. And after I worked out, I felt amazing. And something just told me, you're on to something now, keep going. So I did. And, I started working out, and then my body started changing. And then I didn't really pay attention to my nutrition. But, that came along the way,
right.
And when I decided to change what I ate and started eating whole, healthy, natural foods and supplementing properly, a lot changed. And, my body composition changed, my confidence got better. And then I started to read personal development books because my mindset was still not 100%.
Right.
So, I still was depressed, and I was still suffering from anxiety, and I was still hiding in the pantry, eating food like Doritos. That was my go-to food. And, I had a lot of shame. Sorry?
They're good. That's why Doritos
I
are
know,
awesome.
right?
And apparently universal, because you have them in Canada too. I didn't know. So
yeah, for sure. And it was an emotional attachment, and I would eat until I felt better. And then when I felt better, I'd come out of the pantry, and then there was shame and guilt that would set in, going, why are you doing this? So I had that emotional eating issue that I had to deal with. And in order to change and make these habits stick, I had to change mentally. And, I found my healing process through personal development books, and it helped kind of, change my thought process. And I'm a big believer that, the voice that is the loudest, you are going to listen to.
Yeah.
And, when the voices were negative and they were telling me that I was worthless and that I was, I should take my own life and everything else, I didn't have any positive reinforcement. So those voices were the loudest. And when I decided to take up personal development and read every day, those positive voices became louder. And then I started changing the people I hung around with. And then you learn that, you become the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with the most.
Absolutely.
So I started surrounding myself with a lot of positive, uplifting people and starting to find mentors. And even if they didn't know they mentored me, like Tony Robbins and Les Brown and, people like that, and authors and that coach people.
Right.
And then I thought, I'm going to share myself on social media just to kind of keep myself accountable, and to let people kind of know that I'm working out. And it was a way for me to keep myself accountable.
Yeah.
And to stop giving up. And so I did that. And then people started messaging me saying, hey, man, you're looking good. You're losing weight. What are you doing? So I would just share with them what I was doing. And next thing you know, I started running groups, and more people, like internationally, in the United Kingdom, in the United States, and Canada, and Australia, and my groups are always kind of focused on personal development. They were always, exercise focused, but we were more focused on growth and personal development. And I started to notice a lot of things coming out of a lot of people, and a lot of healing going on, and first responders coming that suffered from depression and PTSD, and going back to their psychologist, and their psychologist is like, what are you doing? Like, this is amazing, keep doing it. And they're just like, I'm taking care of myself.
Yeah.
And they were taking care of themselves mentally and physically, and spiritually. And so I started to kind of look deeper. And that's when I found out about health coaching. And, I found a really amazing school, the Health Coach Institute, and they're amazing. And, they've helped me grow as a person and as a coach myself. And, I had to pay it forward because, everything that I've done with my self-care, personal development, working out, it literally saved my life. And in our industry, first responder suicide, in my opinion, is an epidemic, and we have first responders taking their lives every day. And if I can save at least one first responder from doing that, then it's all worth it.
Absolutely.
And so I'm on a mission to end the stigma and to help save the helpers. Help the helpers.
Yes, me too. We're on that journey together, and we've even in our region, we've had our losses, and it's very difficult. We love these people, and we often think, I never saw that coming, or I wouldn't have thought this person would do that, and it's very hard to try to figure out why it happened. And so we're kind of in this process right now where we're trying to figure out, why is this happening? And I really think, for me personally, I'm not saying for everyone, I'm really focused on prevention and
Yes.
how can we just keep each other strong and take a moment for ourselves and encourage each other, because we're always so busy trying to help everyone else. And, we help each other more and more now than I think I've ever seen in my career. And so, with you being a personal trainer, obviously, physical fitness is very important to the job, to get the job done. But how do you think physical fitness actually is important to you mentally and to all of us mentally as well?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm definitely into prevention as well. And that's what this is all about, is being proactive. And, everything that we have in place right now, like with our CISM teams and stuff like that, all of that stuff is proactive. It's kind of after something bad has already happened. So, I definitely like to focus on preventative measures and build that mental and physical resiliency to prevent something, like this from happening, from, developing some sort of mental health disorder, suicidal thoughts and all this other stuff. And, physical fitness plays a huge, huge role in building mental resiliency, because, it's hard. I mean, if you have ever started working out, in that first week or that 2 weeks, you're sore.
Oh yeah.
And your body hurts and you don't want to move, and you get the worst case of delayed onset muscle soreness like you've never felt. And, it's hard to go to the bathroom, to sit down, and that's tough on the mind as well. And I believe that when you can push your body, day in and day out, and you can push it healthy wise, in the gym and exercising it and doing it in a positive way, and overcoming the adversity of being sore and tired and getting rid of all the excuses of like, well, it's 5 a.m. or the sun is still down, or it's cold outside, or it's raining. It takes a lot of mental toughness to be able to push through that. And, by incorporating physical fitness into your routine every day, gives you a way to channel out all of the negative energy and stress that you may build up from the day before or the day of. It gives you a way to build your self-confidence, as you get more in shape and start lifting more weight and, or start doing things longer than you could before. That builds your self-confidence. And and all of the amazing endorphins that are released from when you work out, right?
Yeah.
It's so good for your brain health. And that's where everything starts, is in our brain,
Yeah.
Everything starts there. All of our thoughts and feelings and everything starts in our brain. And so when we can strengthen our mind and strengthen our bodies and have them work in unison and work together, we just become so healthy and we become so resilient. So when we have to deal with the stresses of everyday life or the stresses of the job, we're more apt to be able to deal with it and cope with it better than we did before. So building mental and physical resiliency into our lives before the crisis happens is crucial. And it's also important for healing as well. So if you've suffered from depression or anxiety or PTSD, it's so crucial in the healing process to develop post-traumatic growth.
Absolutely. All of those pieces are, they work together, right? So a lot of times we think about, our mental process or what we're going through as being separate from our physical. But what you're saying is that, our physical process is our mental process. So if we can get our physical strength and get our mind to kind of back us up on that, then we can slowly build up that resilience over time. And, when those waves come crashing, we've had at least a little bit of time to work on pushing past that and, rebuilding ourselves in a positive, healthy way. I think that's such a great message and one we could all hear more of. I know it's been fast, but we only have a few more minutes left. I wanted to ask you one more question if you have the time.
Sure. Yep. No problem.
What are some small steps? So you've kind of talked about resilience. What are some small steps that we can take to become more physically and mentally resilient as first responders?
Yeah, to be more physically resilient is just that, just daily exercise, whether you're in the gym or you're riding a bike or going for a walk or running, and just challenging your body. And, for mental resiliency, some of the best things that you can do to build your mental resiliency is to take care of yourself, to make sure that you incorporate self-care into your daily routine. And it's different for everybody. Some people, going for massage, having a bath, doing yoga or meditating, reading a book,
right.
And it's so important. And self-care also goes as far as like eating whole, healthy, natural foods, because when you get away from the processed foods and the high sugary foods, your body can actually break it down and get the nutrients that it needs. So when your body is nutritionally satisfied, you have good gut health, and I think like 90% of our serotonin is developed in our GI tract.
Wow.
And so, when you talk about, serotonin and talk about, happy feelings and stuff like that, it starts in the gut. So as soon as we start to pay attention to what we're eating, a lot of my clients, when we look and change what they're eating, they become happier.
Wow.
And when you become happier, you're more apt to want to do stuff because you have more energy, right?
Yeah.
So that is super important in your self-care, and then spending time with like your family. Like I have 2 kids, and a stepchild. So I have 3 children, and, having the energy to be able to play with them, is huge in my self-care. So self-care, daily exercise, and eating healthy, balanced diets, and supplementing properly with water and, vitamins and minerals and stuff like that. And just making sure that you're taking care of yourself, because as first responders, we're so busy taking care of everybody else. And, we deplete our own cup. And because we're first responders, I'm going to use the analogy of a coffee cup. And, we have a coffee cup and it's full, and we give and we give and we give and we give and we give. And eventually that coffee cup becomes empty.
Right.
And you have nothing left to give.
Right.
But if you are putting yourself first, your mental health and your physical health first, and filling up your cup so it's constantly over full, you naturally don't have to tip your cup and give anymore, because it just overflows, and you naturally will just fill up the people that are underneath you anyway.
That's awesome, especially because this is coffee talk.
And this is coffee talk, exactly, right? So
that's perfect. Yeah.
So fill your cup first,
right.
And that's in my opinion, in order for us to help each other, we have to help ourselves first. And the more that we can help ourselves first, the more we're going to be able to help each other as first responders and continue to serve the people that we protect.
Oh, that's all good stuff. Well, Allan, thank you so much for everything that you've put out for us today to listen to and think about. If anyone wants to learn a little bit more about what you're trying to do for us in the industry, do you have any website or a email or link that they can check in on you?
Yeah, definitely. My website would be www.thirdalarmlifecoaching.com. So that's all letters, the THIRDALARM lifecoaching.com. And my email is the thirdalarmlifecoaching@gmail.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Allan. We appreciate you for visiting us here at Coffee Talk. This is Martgan, your host, and we look forward to hearing you again. Thanks so much, Allan.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Ann. Take care.
You too.
Okay, bye for now.
Bye.